Why buy your next vehicle from Community Motors of Mason City?
Great service from 3 locations: Community and Monroe, Community Motors Westside, and Mason City Ford. 10 new franchises and hundreds of vehicles to give you more choices. Plus, Community offers an exclusive 3-3 warranty on pre-owned vehicles and 10-year, 250,000-mile warranty on new. Need more reasons why? Stop or visit CommunityAutoGroup.com.
'Cause nobody beats a community deal, nobody.
Max Weaver, Mason City. First off, I just want to say I respect the board's decision, and Bill, your decision. I've worked out here, represented the city, Mason City for many years. I hope Mr. Tornquist listens to me when I say this, and you too, Brent. It took me about 6 to 7 years to figure out how the landfill worked. That's the kind of technology that's out here. You wouldn't think that with garbage, but that's how long it takes. And Scott, you've got 1 meeting under your belt, and you're ready to change the dynamics out here. I want to answer something. Jacqueline Arthur stood here in the middle and said that that you have a well-run landfill, and respect that. We respect that. Are you kidding me? How much respect is there when you give somebody 5 minutes to study a contract that's going to impact this facility for 10 to 20 years? That's not respect at all. 2, we are here to work with you. Again, that's not true at all. If you were here to work with you, you would have brought this forward at sometime in June and had the landfill have 6 months. The Zoning Board of Adjustment in Mason City spent 2 months on it, minimum. You guys get to spend 10 minutes. Right there's your red flag. Tony Nelson, councilman from Clear Lake, I respect the job that you do, but you've told me all along, and several other people have heard you, you don't like the location. I asked you and your city administrator, I came to your council meetings, and I asked people at Clear Lake, would you want this to be located in your community? You all said no, including your city administrator. I hope you respect Mason City on that tonight and the people that don't agree with this. The other thing I want to say to you, I think there's 4 or 5 board members missing tonight. Am I right, Bill, when I say, Jim, there's 64 votes here in this room? Because nobody really understands that process.
I think the board members are aware that votes are weighted, and they are weighted by population, so that a representative from a municipality having a population of 1,500 or less has 1 vote. If the population exceeds 1,500, then for each increment of 1,500, there is an additional vote. So the effect of that is to give certain entities that would be recognizable certainly a greater portion vote. But as for action on the measure tonight, for example, first of all, we would need to determine the number of votes represented tonight. Apparently we don't have each municipality present, so we would have to deduct the votes represented by the absentee municipality or municipalities. Then the majority of the votes represented by those who are here would be necessary to pass a measure. So for example, if there are 60 votes represented tonight, 31 will pass a measure. If everyone were here, I think the total number of votes is 64, so we will move 33.
Well, I think there's 59 votes here tonight, maybe 60, it's hard to tell.
There's 5 that aren't represented.
5, there's 59 votes here tonight. 3 entities have 29 votes among themselves. I think Julie makes an excellent point here about conflict of interest, that somebody should probably recuse themselves. I would certainly think that the benefacting community should just stay back out of it and let the board vote, especially that board member has 19 votes, weighted votes. It's not fair. The other thing I want to touch on is I hope that when you do, if this passes, your 2080 agreements, don't sign them. Negotiate contracts with the CES. You got a commodity. Absolutely, moneymaker for yourselves. He says that they need a 10-year agreement to get a loan. Well, what's more important than the 10-year agreement? is having the tonnage. I'm not sure the tonnage is here, so you'd think the financial institution you're working with would look at that just as important. How much tonnage do you have to be profitable? They don't have a contract yet with Alliant. I'm not sure what the megawatt, what they're going to be paid per kilowatt. So there's a lot of ifs here. My final thing is this. It's going to be a tight vote. Don't let it be a political vote. Don't let it be a political vote. I know a lot of you have been under a lot of pressure. And protect your vote and protect what you've done out here. When I first came out here, everything was temporary. The buildings, everything, trailers. Some of you might not remember that. Maybe none of you do. I was a hauler back in the early 70s. It was just temporary. It was crazy. But look what we've grown to. Mr. Tornquist said that we didn't have the wherewithal to build a plant. We do. We've got assets out here in the millions of dollars. Does this building look temporary? You guys have done a great job and you should be proud of it. There's good jobs out here also. Don't play with fire tonight. I urge you to turn this down. Let the science prove itself, and if Mr. Flores and Yavorsky, which I appreciate what they're doing in this country for us, if their science can be proven, and it is a workable, great tool, then I say we welcome them back here to the landfill board and talk about building it right out here at our plant. But you will own it, and you will share in the profits with your communities. Think down the road a bit. Don't just think tonight, as Jacqueline Arthur says, they're working with you. What, in the last 10 minutes? That's crazy. The guy who said last meeting, you can't buy a house in 2 weeks. Think about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Brent Willett, North Iowa Corridor EDC. I will keep this brief, and thank you for acknowledging. I just want to make a couple points because I have been involved in this process from the outset with respect to the potential siting of the ERS facility or a future facility at the landfill site. I can say unequivocally that was the preference of everyone initially prior to economic models being run. It is economically not viable to locate this facility at this time, certainly cannot project forward. There was a figure cited that I have also heard with respect to approximately $1 million a mile. That figure, however, takes into account running a straight line of pipe and pole. With respect to siting an energy production facility at the landfill of North Iowa, you run into very significant cost factors in excess of that. In order to connect under current infrastructure arrangements, you would have to cross or bury under Highway 218 to access the Emory substation, outfit that substation in a much more dramatic way than they're looking at doing at their current site. So there are significant cost challenges with respect to this facility. That's not to say that they cannot be overcome perhaps in the future, but I would also encourage you to consider the proposal you're seeing as a potentially quite viable and a strong economic proposal for this landfill, because as this process and this technology emerges, I think when you look at projects that are being negotiated and have been negotiated nationwide and worldwide currently, you're looking at much more significant municipal, public, financial participation, and you're also looking at an arrangement wherein that if it is an independent organization like ERS would be, they're looking at sharing in that tip fee, which you're not currently doing. So I understand the perspective of what may be in the future with respect to the commodity for your waste. No one can tell the future. However, I'm hearing a lot from this room as to an appetite for a project at some point in the future. And when we marry that perspective with some of the concerns with respect to the fact that we can't tell the future, we may have a provision in our contract that could be called into question. I would encourage you to consider the fact that you will be running into those very same questions at whatever point in that future this may be. You have a contract, you have a proposal in front of you, and I would ask you to consider that. I will certainly, the North Iowa Corridor will certainly respect whatever decision that is. You do have a fantastically well-run landfill operation. I've been told that personally by many people, including the head, the man at the head of solid waste at the Department of Natural Resources. And so I would be remiss not to say that you should, as any board of directors, as a manager who reports to a board of directors, you should consider the recommendations of your executive committee, of your executive director, and take those factors into account and make your own decision. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm going to give you a point of history. Back in when the Korean War started out, in 1950, I had just graduated junior college here in Mason City. I also was drafted in 1951. And there was another gentleman in Emmons, Pennsylvania, and I believe he would be the beginning of what is recycling today. And his name was Rodal. He was an editor of a small printing company. And he was the guy that started recycling. And what it was, basically, was for the farmer to start to recycle his product and not to use the chisel plow, to use another method of turning the earth so you don't have to eliminate erosion. There's been a lot of things going on throughout the years. In 1972, two men from Austin, Minnesota, and myself created a small recycling company here in Mason City. And we called it Waste Not, Inc. Our purpose was to take three items: cardboard, newspaper, and IBM cards, because we found a source to recycle all that material. There was a company in St. Paul, Minnesota that would take in all this material, and we were shipping 2 semi-loads a week out of Mason City. And this all went in to make cardboard and newspaper. Now, the cardboard that it was being used for, that a lot of people didn't understand it, was being made into a very thin material, and then they would take a number 1 paper and put it on top of it and print it, and what did it end up? A cereal box. And it's still being done today. The reason that we went out of business in 1975 is that the market had dropped less than $5 a ton, and there I was with a warehouse of 100 tons of baled cardboard and newspaper, and we couldn't give it away for lumber money. We had to do something with it, and nothing had been done. Now I was 10 years ahead of my time on that little idea. But you know, these gentlemen here that have they're entrepreneurs. They're coming up with a new idea. And we can't close our ideas just to these people, because listen, we are one earth. We've got to save our planet. And this is very important. And I've been working most of my life as a gardener. And I've made deals with the city. Throughout the years, I have recycled tons of leaves in gardens all over Mason City. Everybody's doing it today. A lot of people at that time weren't doing a thing. And but on one more point, I made 2 talks back in 1972, one to the Mason City High School and the other one to Newman High School. And I talked about saving newspaper and cardboard, that's all. The Mason City High School, well, they put that off on the shelf. I heard the other day that Newman, over all these years, from 1972 to the present, are still collecting newspaper and cardboard. And what are they doing with the profits? They bought band uniforms, musical instruments, one thing or another. And they've done it with good years and they've done it with bad years. So these are things that you have to consider. But it's up to the entrepreneur. When these guys come up with an idea, go ahead with it. This is important. We've got to save our earth.
I appreciate your comments and thanks for your service to the country.
Yeah, I'm Randy Cram. I'm on the North Iowa Corridor Economic Development Board. It seems like a lot of people want to wait. And it seems like in North Iowa, we wait a lot. And we get passed by. We're declining in population. We need to do something to turn the tide. Let's do something. The ethanol industry was brand new. We didn't question that much. They're doing ethanol pretty good now. They're keep developing the technology. I just see this as a no risk for the landfill. All the risk is on the company. I see it as an opportunity, and I'd like North Iowa to not wait. I think we need to do things, or we're just gonna keep continuing to decline in population.
Thank you.
Brent Trout, City Administrator of Mason City. Obviously, in the city that this is going to be located in, obviously we have the most to gain, it was seen. But I think we need to remember that for us, this is something that this whole region will gain from. We started this process looking at this particular project. We've had City Council approve a development agreement with terms. We've had a public forum session where we had many questions, and a lot of the same people made testimony and asked questions at that point. But we've also then had a very exhaustive process through our Zoning Board of Adjustments, determining whether or not this facility is something that's right for our community. We placed many conditions on that, and I think that through that process, we determined that we were comfortable, at least the Zoning Board of Adjustments. They made their decision and we've moved on. Obviously, now it's in your hands as the board of this landfill. Obviously, we've contributed to this landfill and used this landfill for many, many years, and we don't want to see anything happen to the landfill that would make it not viable. We've had a contract and used this landfill for many years. But I think the thing that we need to at least ask of you is that this is a project that will create investment in our community, create jobs, and we feel that it's something that we need to have in our community. So I guess from that standpoint, we ask your serious consideration of this and approval of the contract so that we can continue to move this forward. You know, we've got DNR that still needs to approve their air quality permit, and we think though that this should have the opportunity to succeed. So we ask your consideration and approval.
Thank you.
We burn the product that Newman saves and reaps the rewards from, they wouldn't have any money. Two, I want to say to Brent Trout, Brent, I think I heard you and everybody else did, and it's on camera, that you said the council has approved a development agreement.
In terms of development agreement.
When did you do that? No, we
voted on-
didn't.
you
We
voted
voted on a draft development agreement to come back to for the council to look at.
The terms of the development agreement were approved. You want
The
to
term, when did
you want to
do
see the resolution, sir?
That's not, then that's wrong, I can get a,
Max, we need to keep this between
well,
what we're doing
that's,
here
that's what
tonight.
we've been battling,
What-
Mr. Reuter, is the
Yeah.
kind of fiction here. And that's important to get out too. And
And all
people
I'm
are
saying is-
frustrated with what? An hour and a half to do it in?
No.
Max, I have a point. In other words, I never said burn
Dad.
anything. They don't burn paper, they don't burn cardboard. They
We
take
understand.
and recycle it.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
We need to move on, we can
Goes
be.
to CES, it gets burned.
Let's have, the civility that we've had tonight has been very good. Let's keep it this way. Let's get the good ideas out that we've had. Let's not get this out of hand.
My name is Carol Patnode, I'm from Mason City, and I just want to sort of tag on to some things that have already been said. One, someone asked the question about whether there were other facilities like this in the United States, and there are not. So there are some unknowns, like some of you have referred to. So we know the facility is experimental in nature. Some of you have asked about the plant in Green Bay. That plant may be up and running in 12 to 14 months. And that would give you all some more time to process this, to look at your contract more than just within a 5-minute period, and not feel like you're so pushed into this decision. So I urge you to vote no. I urge you to take time a lot of information will come to you once that plant is up and functioning in Wisconsin, and some of your questions may be answered. So, thank you.